Hi, Mark Gilbert here. Thanks for clicking in on this video. What I want to offer you here is a sample visioning session, one that you can run through to get a good sense of what a visioning session is like, and one that you can come back to over and over if you so desire to use it for your own personal purposes for visioning. Now, the topic of visioning I covered a good bit in another video, the video whose title is scrolling below the screen right now. In that video, I talked about how visioning works in my mind, but whether you believe that or not, you can use the process for gaining access to information on whatever question it is that you have in mind. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to start off by covering some introductory stuff that I think will be helpful, both the setup of the visioning process as well as what to do with the information after the session's over. And then there'll be a slight break in the video, a pause, and then we'll come back and start the actual visioning process. Where that visioning process starts will be a time marker that's on your screen right now, so that if you've already gone through all this introductory stuff, you can just fast forward ahead to that marker and go through the process over and over. Now, visioning process is much like a meditation or a prayer, where I'm going to be taking you through some steps that will gain you into the feeling and sense that everything is one and that you're part of that and that you can tap into the wisdom of the universe. During that process, I will then stop and ask some questions. I'll generally repeat the questions twice to make sure they got into your awareness, and then we'll pause. In that pause, you simply are to sit there and listen to whatever guidance comes through. It can come through in any kind of form. It can be words, pictures, feelings, sounds, smells, all kinds of things. Whatever comes through, don't judge it, just simply acknowledge it, note it, and in fact, on paper and pen that you'll have nearby, open your eyes and then just write down or describe in a few words on your paper what it is that came through for you. And then close your eyes and go back in. If you're still in the silence before the next question has started and something else comes up to you, you can open your eyes again and capture that on the paper. In fact, it's frequent that many people in visioning will write, close their eyes, write, close their eyes, etc., and do it over and over. At some point, I will go on to the next question. If you find that the pausing of the questions is not long enough for you, feel free to actually hit the pause button on the video and then restart it once you're ready to go to the next question. Otherwise, I hope that I've left enough time for you to capture most of what's going to come through, and then I'll go on to the next question. Now, about the questions, I'm going to be using the general questions that Michael Beckwith taught on visioning. However, I want to encourage you to play with the questions. The ones I'm offering you give you some good ones to go by, but they don't have to be the only questions you can use. In fact, there's plenty of times I've been in visioning sessions where we used many other different questions. So feel free to use what seems appropriate for you. However, this beginner set, which I've listed and copied into the description for the video below, and you'll hear me say them when we go through the session a little bit later. That's a good set to start with, and so I encourage you to start there. Now, at the conclusion of the questions and the pausing and the writing of your notes down, I'll conclude it with some remarks regarding thankfulness and gratitude and release. Just simply something we normally do in a visioning session to end the session off, to be thankful for the information that's come through and then to allow ourselves to be done, to end, and then to move into the next phase, which is to reviewing the information that's come forward. Now, visioning sessions can be done in a number of ways. You can do them by yourself. You can play this video, or you can create your own recording, or you can do whatever it is to allow yourself to go through a visioning simply on your own and capture what comes up. I've done this many, many times. It works just fine. Also, you can do them in a group. You can do it with other people. You can play this video in a group and use it, or you can have one person who has the questions and they lead the process. They lead the beginning steps for anchoring into the oneness and then opening up to the questions. The whole idea is to be in the space of allowing the vision of spirits and gods or the infinite intelligence's wisdom to be accessible to you, to tap into that wisdom that's around you all the time. So you can do it in a group. And one other thing I want to encourage you to do is to do the visioning over and over. Because what you're typically looking for is trends. You're looking for information that's going to come through consistently over time. If you only do one visioning session, it's hard to get a trend out of that. If you're in a group, however, you can see some trends if common themes come up from different people. I've been in many a visioning session with a lot of people where 5 people will get a very similar thing on a particular question, and you have to go, that's interesting. It sort of lends a lot of credence to the wisdom because 5 people are open conduits to the same thing coming through. So when you've got a group, you can find trends, but even in a group, I would urge you to vision over multiple times. The idea is you're looking for that wisdom that's going to, we're having to get our heads out of the way, to get our egos out of the way, to bring our own judgments of what we may want the information to be, to have that set aside. And by doing it multiple times, either individually as a group, the greater the chances we're allowing egos and agendas to be set aside so that we can get to the essence of the information that we're trying to tap into. So repeated times is good. So you go through looking afterwards, you go through looking at what came up for each question. You look for trends in your own replies, you look for what came up across the group, and make notes of it. And then there's a common desire to want to take that and create some sort of action list, some sort of to-do list. I would encourage you to not be attached to that. Just simply be attached to being given guidance and allowing that guidance to guide you in next steps in your life. I think that if you employ this with your own logical mind and your own aspect of reviewing what life is giving to you, that this guidance will guide you in the right direction, and in the next steps, the to-do list will come automatically. But in some cases, I've been envisioning where we've had specific action items come up, and that's good because you can say, okay, we're going to do X, Y, and Z and move on to it. But if that comes, great. If it doesn't, just simply be open to the bigger picture that's being gained by going through this process. So that's it. I hope this information is helpful to you. What we're going to do now is pause, and when we return, we'll come back and go through the visioning session. Just as we take a deep breath in this moment, and with each breath, we allow ourselves to shift our focus and attention from the busyness of the world of affairs, for all of life that is out there outside of us, for all the things that have been going on in our individual lives this day. We simply allow those things to be set aside and to bring our attention and focus inward to where we feel and know and sense that there is this life flow, this life energy that is moving through us. We know this divine flow provides us our life, our very being. That this divine flow contains not only our consciousness, but a wisdom and intelligence of the universe that is available to us, to tap into, to gain access to learn from. And it's in this place that we simply shift our focus and know that all of this universe is one, that there is this one life, this one power, this one divine flow that moves in and through us, and that this flow contains this information, this wisdom, and that it is in us all the time. And as we shift our focus at this time in our lives, we simply know that we are gaining access to catching that information as it flows through us, to gaining access to the wisdom of the universe for the guidance that is needed for our individual lives and endeavors at this moment of time and space. And it's in this awareness, in this consciousness, in this place of knowingness that we ask the first question for which we seek guidance. What is Spirit's highest vision for our question in mind? What is Spirit's highest vision for that which we seek guidance? And we pause and we listen. And as we stay anchored in that divine flow, as we stay in tune with the infinite Spirit, we open ourselves to the wisdom that comes through on this next question. What must we become, or what must I become, to empower this vision? What must we or I become to empower this vision? And we listen. And next we ask, what must be released? What must be released? And we listen. What must be embraced? What must be embraced? Finally, we ask, is there any other information that is needed in this moment? Is there any other information that is needed in this moment? And we listen. So in this moment, we give thanks. We give thanks for the information that has come through in this visioning session. We give thanks for life itself. We give thanks for the availability of this wisdom, this information in the universe that we can tap into whenever we so desire. Just knowing that the perfect guidance is being offered to us in this time and in this moment. And so with this thankfulness in our hearts, I simply release this visioning session and proclaim, and so it is. So that concludes this session. Now you would go back and review your notes or discuss and share in the group as described previously in the video. Thanks for watching. Drop me a comment, send me a question at the email address on the screen. Till next time. Hey, one more quick thing. I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel. The link is down there on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Also, there's a related video you might want to watch. It's right next to my face. And if you like this video, be sure to click like and leave me a comment on YouTube. Thanks.